Here's one that's interesting, and this has a Sumer twist to it. So Zach Charbonnet of UCLA. Now, Zach Charbonnet used to play for Michigan. The first ever college football game I ever went to with Michigan was with Sean Clement. This was 2019. Sean, now, of course, one of our colleagues here. Zach Charbonnet was the lead back for the Michigan Wolverines that day. And I thought Zach Charbonnet sucked. I did not think he was any good. I was like, this is a slow, like bad vision, blah, blah, blah running back. That's what I thought. Of course, I am a fool because he gets beat out. He transfers. He goes to UCLA, coached by Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, by the way, used to, owns a small part of PFF. No one knows that, but he is a very analytical guy. Does I think a really good job there. And he gets behind this physical. And when I used to play college daily fantasy sports, and eventually I had to wise up and roster Charbonnet a few times. So I actually watched him and have come around to him. Charbonnet, 6 feet, 214 pounds, runs a 4.53. That's actually like a very, very good number for a back his size. Like when you're above average, when you're, over 6 feet and, 215, like that's a very good number for a running back. And, you look at him, he averaged 7 yards a carry last year. That was 8th in the country, 4.15 yards per carry after contact, which again, we remember Bijan Robinson, 4.17. So we're kind of right around that range. 53 missed tackles forced, so 31 and 31st. He averaged 1.3 yards per route run in the passing game. Like this is a very productive college running back. And I love where he comes from because UCLA, when you look at like their profile, they're very not Pac-12. They very much like their offensive and defensive lines are physical, big dudes, like guys that you're going to run behind like when you're in the NFL. And Charbonnet took advantage of it better than anybody has that I've seen in the Chip Kelly era. The question is now, he's not a change of pace back. He's a legitimate starting kind of, when I look at him, I think of like an ace running back, but he's not necessarily of that ilk of Robinson. Where do you put him as far as this class?
So it's funny. I'm normally not a real fan of that upright runner, right? I'm just not. I mean, there have been guys over the history that we know that can do that. They can tote the rock, running upright, 6+, 6'1", whatever it is. Yep. And again, as I brought up a number of times back in my old school, is sort of annals, the idea of what was his name? My God, Eric Dickerson, guys like that.
Yeah, Robert Smith was always injured, Eric Dickerson ran out of Eric Dickerson. Eventually, the hamstrings and the ankles and all that got to him. It's like it's a hard way to live in the NFL as a running back, standing straight up like that.
And as you know, again, when you run upright and you're tall, even if you're strong, the Charbonnet grew on me for sure because I watched, as you were talking about, watching last year, and I'm like, God, I don't know where I am with this guy. And then I started watching him more with Chip's offense, and I'm thinking, I like this guy more than I thought. Look, I project him like probably most people do, mid-second round. It's going to be an interesting thing, by the way. Like, how many is there going to be? 1 first rounder? Are there going to be 2 second rounders or 3 second rounders? Yep. It will be interesting. But I think Charbonnet is like, he's just one of those guys. I believe, what was his past situation? Watching him in the vids that I saw, I thought that he could catch the ball and get upfield. He had a style to him that, even though he was upright, he could continue to run upon contact. Right, he was getting extra yards. So I don't hesitate to think that he's going to be a starter in the league. But again, he's not necessarily my style. Yeah, but I do see the positives on, of course.
Yeah, incredibly athletic, 37-inch vertical, 10.2 broad jump. 37 of 44 targets, which to me, like, I even think, when Chip, and I wasn't a huge college football fan when Chip Kelly got onto the scene, but one of the things I noticed when Chip came into Philadelphia, LaShawn McCoy stopped catching so many balls, right? Mm-hmm. And when Andy Reid was his coach, a lot of catches, like I think he had 80 one year, and then he stopped. But like the evolution where they'll actually throw to their backs in UCLA now, that's a good thing, I think, for them professionally, because you can answer that question a little bit. I do think that and this is a weird comp because Alfred Morris was a 6th-round pick. But when I kind of see him running, I think of Alfred Morris in that, like, if you get him in an offense where the quarterback is a rushing threat And all you need to do is when the quarterback kind of hands it to him,
Mhm.
and the linebackers are just standing still, you just need a guy to hit it up and be like a very definitive runner. That to me is how, I was watching a former old Commanders game from like 2012 with Robert Griffin, and I'm like, Alfred Morris had the easiest job of any running back of all time, but at least he hit the hole and rushed for 1,600 yards. I think of Charbonnet like that. I don't want Charbonnet going side to side. I don't really want him doing any more than one cut. But like, if you get him in an offense that does that, I think he could be super effective. And like, so it really, I think, does depend upon like what you're asking of him in an offense in the NFL.
Yeah, and look, there are places, and I think when you come back to a team who drafts someone and they see the benefits, again, it comes back to making sure that you put together your entire your running back group, right? Your stall of running backs is really, really important. Please, everyone understand that. You're not going to do the same. You're going to have some versatility. Versatility, I will continue to say, at any position is vital, and at the running back position is vital as well. If you have a big, tall, strong guy like this, he can work into your group for sure. And I don't know the character side of him, but the fact that you have someone that has an understanding and a vision enough, because he shows the vision, I think that can be, of course, very positive.
Here's a question, because both Gibbs and Charbonnet have been transfer guys. That is a new thing in college football now, right? Like it's existed for a while, but you used to have to, even back when I played, if you wanted to transfer the same level, you had to sit out a year, right? You didn't get to. So if you really wanted to leave school and go somewhere else, you had to really commit. You had to commit to the bit and sit somewhere and redshirt for a year and play on the scout team and all that stuff.
So
Nowadays, when you see a guy who's transferred, does that ever lean into your analysis of a player, or does that just make you ask one additional question? Like, how does that work for you as far as when you talk about character? Because I think it's so ubiquitous now that you can't immediately say, hey, something wrong happened, but you also can't necessarily immediately rule out something bad happening.
yeah, I think we're gonna, as builders, we're going to really look in and we're going to immediately think, okay, what was the reason for this? We really need to drill into that. That's going to be an important point for us. We're going to go as far as not only doing our research, we're going to, by the way, I think I mentioned this before. We'll go as far, this sounds odd to probably a lot of people. We usually would have private investigators look into these kind of people even more, right? The people that have transferred, because you really want to dig in and make sure that when you're looking at the owner and the owner's like, are you sure you're taking this guy? He transferred, and you have all the answers, right? There's nothing worse, by the way, when you draft someone and the next day, look, I've had this feeling. It is a heart dropper when you wake up the next day and there's an article there. So-and-so had this brush with the law, and that was one of the reasons, and you don't know about it. It's your easiest way to be in a really, really big pickle with your owner.
Yeah, for sure. And like I've said this 10 times on this show, but like every time that I had a numerical projection of a player that was much better than where he ended up drafted, it was always a personal issue. It was always either injury or they had that jerk factor that I just didn't have information to. Okay.